Hello, everybody, and welcome into Draft Wars here live. Texas versus Michigan Draft Wars here on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I'm Matthew Miller. This is TJ Ronan sitting next to me. We're on the Texas and Michigan channel today. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. And we have some homework for you to do. Besides that, if you're going to go to a game this season, go to ticketsmarter.com and type in code BIG for $10 off a purchase of $100 or more. Or if you buy a couple tickets nowadays, it's going to cost you more than that. So $20 off a purchase of $300 or more is BIG20. TJ, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Matt. Glad to be here. Looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, I am as well. Texas and Michigan both doing very well in the NFL draft. Texas with 11 players drafted, Michigan with 13 players drafted. So overall, very successful draft seasons for the teams, especially for Texas. Texas 2 years ago had nobody drafted. So this is a big jump up for us. Let's just jump into it real quick. Who on that just got drafted from Michigan do you think is going to have the most successful NFL career and why?
I'd probably go. It's a toss-up between Sanderson and McCarthy. I'm going to go with McCarthy because mentally he's built for it. I think McCarthy can be a very good quarterback in the NFL. I don't know if he'll ever be a top 5 quarterback. We'll see. But I do think he has the potential to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I would second it with Sanderson. I think Sanderson is built very well for the NFL. He's going to transition very well in the nickel position. So those two, I know you asked for one, so I'll go with JJ.
No, you're good there. Talk as much as you want about either one, honestly. But, okay, I got to come clean. I know you've seen my stuff, but I don't know if you've seen – I'm not a big fan of J.J. McCarthy. I haven't been a big fan. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just saying there's a lot of similarities to me with Justin Fields, and I saw what Justin Fields in the NFL. They're both very athletic, both pretty good arms, but the accuracy on certain throws isn't there to me. But I will say this, he went into the absolute perfect situation. So I don't hate that. There was one or two teams that he could have got drafted to, and I could see him having a legit good NFL career. And that was one of them. You have Kevin O'Connell there with the Vikings. You're indoors. You're playing with the best wide receiver in the NFL. So I'm not in love with JJ McCarthy, but I could definitely see him succeeding now. But yeah, I had to come clean on that because I've been getting a lot of hate from Michigan fans on that.
No, that's cool. I would disagree with your Justin Fields comparison because the problem with Justin Fields is he can't see the field, right? His vision was very poor. That was even confirmed by the coaches by Chicago. He looked lost out there. His eyes, he couldn't identify the play. The game was a little too fast for him. With JJ, he's actually really good at seeing the field. The issue with JJ, and a lot of people critique JJ. It's not the fact that he's doesn't have the skill set or he's not talented, because he is talented. He does have the skill set. He's a dual threat quarterback with a very strong arm and extremely good accuracy. If you look at the numbers throughout college, he's in the 70s. So, he should, I think. And also, what's severely underrated with JJ is his ability to read a play and then improvise. So the knock on JJ is not JJ the quarterback, it's the system he was in, right? So that's in the reality is, like Minnesota, Michigan was built to give him a supporting cast where he wasn't asked to always be the guy, but there were times throughout the season, if you watched every game, where he did sometimes have to be the guy. Against Penn State's what a lot of people remember, where we decided to just evolve the play. The game plan and run it 30 straight times, right? Obviously, but I think JJ is going to do very well. I think his first year is going to be interesting. I don't know if he's going to I'm not expecting a CJ Stroud year or anything like that, but I do think his first season, he'll have some bumps and bruises, but I think overall, within a 3-year period, JJ will solidify himself as a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL and touching top 10.
Okay, yeah, I don't hate that take. I was always in the camp of for somewhere between 17 to 22 range, honestly. I just didn't see the high end talent that I see from other quarterbacks in the NFL. Don't get me wrong, great athlete, stuff like that, but I just don't see the arm strength on an on a week in and week out basis. He did have it at Michigan. The only issue with me is, can I see that in a larger sample size? That's literally the only thing I need to see. And because in the NFL, let's be honest here, teams in the NFL are going to stop the run. That's the number one thing for teams in the NFL. Stop the run, make the quarterback beat you, especially a younger quarterback. So can he do that on 35 pass attempts, 40 pass attempts? We didn't see that at Michigan. Can he do that in the NFL? That was my big question.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair question. I think, but any of us Michigan fans will tell you, I mean, if you don't think he has the arm strength, then you didn't watch the games, because his ability to thread the needle, I don't know if you saw at the combine, they did the mile per hour on the throw.
Yeah.
He was just behind Joe Milton, right? So he has the arm strength. He also has the touch. Our offense was just not designed to showcase a quarterback. Our offense is designed to we're a possession offense, right? We like to chew up clock and do a lot of like short yardage, first down, move the sticks type of offense where we are in possession, because our defense is going to shut you down and you're not going to have a long drive. So our offense has to chew up the clock for the defense, right? So I think, 30, 35, 40 passes in the game. I'll tell you right now, if Minnesota's in a position where they need a rookie quarterback to do 35 to 40 passes a game, there's a lot more issues than JJ McCarthy. Okay. I think we'll see, and you know what? It'll be fun. We can watch his rookie season and we could touch back on him that.
No, that's definitely fair. He's also playing, in my opinion, an up-and-coming division. Detroit's very good. I think they're going to be good for a long time. And I think the Bears are going to be really good right away with Caleb Williams, because they have an immense amount of talent there. So,
in Green Bay,
I mean, it's a good division.
Yeah, no, it's an extremely tough division. I don't disagree. It's a tough division. It's one of the top divisions in the NFL. So he will have an extremely tough test being in that division. But I do believe in JJ. We'll see what he can do, though.
No, that's fair. I'm gonna head into the comments real quick, see if I have any. I'm sure I've got a lot of hate. It's gonna be mostly Michigan fans. If you want to know if JU has the arm strength, just rewind back to the Western Michigan game back in 2021 and the Nebraska game in 2023. See, that's the thing. I'm not watching 2021 Western Michigan versus Michigan, but you guys are, obviously, because you're Michigan fans.
Yeah, I mean, he was only throwing like anywhere from 12 to 25 passes a game. There wasn't the sample size, so I understand where like maybe some people are a little critical. Like I said, the issue is not JJ, the quarterback. And this is why teams fell in love with JJ. This is why he went 10th overall, right? So he has the skill set. He has the mental capacity. I mean, the kid's ahead of his years. I mean, he's actually potentially on the cutting edge of the future of what a quarterback should be in the mental capacity range. But, it's just, the reality is the system that Michigan has does not showcase a quarterback. And that is why a lot of people like yourself, diehard college football fans, they might be a little skeptical, outside of like the Ohio State or the Michigan State fan base who are just in denial about everything that's Michigan. The guy who's like you, who's literally just an observer, I can understand, is Texas is your main squad, right? Do you have another squad that you follow?
Maybe Boise State, but that's about it.
Yeah. All right. I respect that. Yeah. So, I mean, I get it, man. Like you were in the Big 12, you're about to be in the SEC. You're in a whole other sphere, man. So, I mean, like, I can understand why you may think that he doesn't have the arm strength, but I think he will show you in the NFL he does have the arm strength, but we'll have to see, I mean, JJ is going to have to prove the doubters wrong. And next year it'll be fun to watch.
No, 100%. I mean, I watched, obviously, I actually live in Ohio, so I watch the Ohio State game every year, obviously. I watched Minnesota this year, and I watched Penn State. Those are the three games I watched basically from start to finish. So, and in the Minnesota game, he barely had to do anything because Minnesota's so bad, they just, killed him on that. But
and the Penn State game will shape your perception of JJ. There's no question about it. And, and JJ even said to Coach Sharon Moore, "Do you not trust me?" Like that's literally like that became public. So, even JJ felt that the coach turned away from him. So, I mean, again, it's going to be on JJ to prove everyone wrong. And I think, if anyone can do it, he's definitely up to it.
Yeah, honestly, the Penn State game, I completely agreed with what the coaching staff did. It reminded me of like Belichick and Brady in the NFL, where you see one week when they played the Colts, they ran it 40 times and it worked. Why would you stop doing it? So I completely agree with what Michigan did. But yeah, the question can be asked like, can he asked the perfect question? Can you trust me? Because if I'm, this elite quarterback, then the ball should be in my hands most of the time, not the running back's hands. But yeah, that's really my only question, I guess, is the sample size of throws. He doesn't have as many as like a Michael Penix or someone like that. But
Right.
um,
Well,
no,
I'll say this too on the Penn State game if I can. So the reason why they adjusted the game plan is because our right tackle Carson Barnhart could not handle Chop Robinson. Okay, so when and if you watch the Penn State game, the first couple series, Chop
yeah,
Robinson was getting a step on Carson Barnhart, and he was throwing off the entire play, and we would have been in a much worse position if we would have continued that game strategy. So that is why they adjusted it. It was not a JJ problem; it was a right tackle problem. And eventually, through later in the year, when Zach Zinner got hurt in the Ohio State game, they moved Carson Barnhart to right guard, which was more of a natural position for him. And the offensive line was much better at the end of the year, even though we lost our best offensive lineman, because Carson Barnhart was in his natural position. And then Trente Jones took over at right tackle. And as you can see, we made our way to the national championship because our offensive line was actually better at the end of the year.
No, I actually, yeah, I was going to say that as well, because I remember when he got hurt, they had to shift everything and you guys ended up being better that way. So that
Yeah,
I mean, you guys had,
surprising.
you guys had a really deep offensive line room last year, and it's probably only going to continue. For me, I'll answer that same question. Who do I believe in the most? It's honestly down to the two wide receivers for me. They got drafted in like perfect situations. I mean, Xavier Worthy in Kansas City they're just going to roll out that Tyreek Hill playbook with a guy that's just as fast and, in my opinion, a better route runner. That's the thing that people do not understand about Xavier Worthy. Go watch the film. The guy is an elite route runner, and they want to point to the Washington game the past couple years with Jabbar Muhammad kind of locking him up. Well, he played one game with a broken left hand and one game on half a hamstring. So I didn't expect him to I mean, especially on a hamstring, if anyone's ever had a hamstring injury, you cannot cut with a bad hamstring. So he was basically a deep threat only in that game. I think he's going to be fantastic with Kansas City. And then AD Mitchell falling as far as he did, there were some reports, and I'm glad Chris Ballard called him out, basically saying some bullshit. It was bullshit reporting. And why was it out there? And he defended AD Mitchell about his character, which any text, like the first thing when AD came in, they were asked about that. And AD had great character, according to Steve Sarkisian and other guys. They said he was actually just like a bright spot in the room. He lit up the room when he walked in. So I think he landed in a great situation.
Another knock. The Lions were in. They were looking for an X wide receiver. So I was actually looking at Donnie Mitchell, and some of the knocks that I read about him was he was not the best run blocker, and his effort wasn't always there every play. So, like, for example, the Lions, they wouldn't draft a wide receiver who doesn't have that mentality.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's the knock on Adani, I think that's why you saw him drop. But I mean, I agree with you that going to Indianapolis with Anthony Richardson, man, and who's the other one? Michael Pittman.
And Josh Downs.
Yeah, they got a pretty nasty. I agree with you. I think that is a good fit. I also agree Xavier Worthy in Kansas City should be pretty damn interesting with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah, I agree. Those are great fits for them. Just like JJ to Minnesota. We got lucky on that, to be honest. Like those fits for our guys.
No, 100%. I mean, you have one of the best offensive minds in the history of the game, and Andy Reid getting Xavier Worthy, and they want him there. Like Patrick Mahomes was, after the combine, was basically saying, "I want this guy." And then AD Mitchell with Shane Steichen, you saw what he did with the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts when he was the the offensive coordinator. And then Anthony Richardson, to me, played pretty well when he was healthy. That's his only issue. So indoor. Those three wide receivers and Anthony Richardson behind a really good offensive line with a good offensive play caller and Shane Steichen as your head coach, I think they ended up in great situations. So I'm going to turn it over to the opposite side. Who do you think landed in the worst situation and is not going to do well?
From Michigan?
Yeah.
Okay. I wish you threw this at me earlier. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know, man. I really like everyone's fits. Like, let's see. I mean, if I had to pick one, and I'm not in love with my selection here, Michael Barrett in Carolina, simply because I think Carolina's a dumpster. and I don't think he's
Yeah.
going to, I just don't think he's going to be utilized or developed properly. I mean, to be honest, I don't even know if the head coach will be there in 2 years. It's one of those situations. They have a franchise quarterback that I don't even think they believe in anymore. So it could be one of those situations where you're drafted to a team where the environment, the complete opposite of what we were talking about with the other guys, you're in one of the worst places you could possibly be in, and you're probably going to lose a lot, So um, I would say probably Michael Barrett to Carolina is the worst selection.
No, that's fair. Yeah, for me, I guess I would have to go with Christian Jones, kind of in a similar situation. I don't think Arizona is a good fit just because Jonathan Gannon over there is an offensive minded coach, or he is or a defensive minded coach. Sorry, and you're an offensive lineman, and it's hard to guard for someone like Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, first off, is short, so he wants to get scramble and get out of the pocket, and those guys are really hard to protect for because you don't know where they're at, how long they're going to have the football, and any of that. And Christian Jones struggles with speed rushing, and that he's going to get so much of that. Like if someone wants to bully him, it's not going to happen. But the attack off the edge speed-wise is going to bother him, and I think you're going to see that early on, especially, again, with Kyler Murray being your quarterback. So Christian Jones, I think, landed in the worst situation, and it's weird to me he fell to the fifth. There were multiple guys mocking him in the middle of the third round. And honestly, at the beginning of the process, I thought, yeah, fourth or fifth round. Then his combine where he was mocked, I thought he was going to be up higher than that. So fortunately, he does fall pretty low. And then it's just, I don't think it's a great situation.
Yeah. it was a deep offensive line class. I mean, we had some guys fall too that I was surprised to see, fall to where they fell. I would say, looking at your draft, I think Jonathan Brooks is in the worst situation because you got Chuba Hubbard, you got Miles Sanders, so you have a loaded backfield, and not only that, they have a piss poor rushing attack with, again, Bryce Young, who is not a quarterback who's going to make a defense honest. So we'll see. I don't know. Arizona's an interesting team. They got some talent, but we'll see. I'd probably go Jonathan. I guess I just hate Carolina, so maybe that's my problem.
No, I understand. I actually like Jonathan Brooks, obviously, as a player. I think he's phenomenal. But I also like Bryce Young. But the issue there is, like you said, it's a crowded running back room. But I think they're done with Miles Sanders. I think you saw that at the end of last year. They kind of benched him, and that contract was terrible.
That's what I was gonna say, though. That contract, they're not good. He's there. So, they paid him to be an RB1, and Chuba Hubbard took it. I had Miles Sanders on my fantasy team, so I'm well aware of that situation. And it's just that team is going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL next year, and I don't think it's a good environment for any young player.
Yeah, we have two guys there. So Jatavian Sanders and Jonathan Brooks ended up there, unfortunately, which sucks because I wanted, living in Ohio, I thought, the Bengals need a tight end. I thought Jatavian Sanders would have been perfect for the Bengals, but he didn't end up going there. Let's see here. I'll hit on one of your guys. I keep seeing Roman Wilson in the chat. I like Roman Wilson. I'm not in love with him, but that quarterback, listen, I'm a Broncos fan. You don't know what you're getting with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, first off, Roman Wilson is not the type of wide receiver that, and people are going to compare him to Tyler Lockett. I don't think they're that similar, but he is a deep ball merchant. That's what he does. He does not throw intermediate throws, especially across the middle. He doesn't even really check down that much. It's deep balls or nothing, and that Russ magic is not there. And then if he fails, you're getting Justin Fields at quarterback, who I don't think is very good. So I actually don't like that situation. I'm actually high on Roman Wilson as a player, but I just don't like the fit there in Pittsburgh.
So I actually do like the fit. I understand what you're saying with Russell Wilson, but the reason why I like the fit is this. For one, Pittsburgh's defense is nasty. Yes. Pittsburgh's running game is pretty strong. It's not mind-blowing, but it's still a strong rushing attack. You have Mike Tomlin, who's one of the best coaches in the NFL. And don't forget, there is Justin Fields, who I did just critique about his inability to see the field. But what he has is, they just got rid of who was the wide receiver that they just got rid of? Was it Deontay Johnson or the other one?
Yes, Deontay Johnson.
Right. Deontay Johnson, the one who doesn't try on any play. So there's an opening for wide receiver too, on the opposite side of my guy from Georgia. Do you remember his name?
George Pickens.
George Pickens. There you go. So, so I actually think it's a great opportunity for him. There's going to be targets. The team, you have at tight end, you got Pat Freiermuth, right?
Yeah.
So you have the tight end, you have a strong offensive line. The quarterback, I think we'll be okay. Russell. What's funny is like I also like the Broncos. I used to live there
Okay.
I used to live there for a little bit, and Russell Wilson wasn't that bad. And towards the end of the year,
No.
he actually improved. I think it was more or less getting used to Sean Payton. Now, I don't think Russell Wilson's like a top 10 quarterback or anything. I mean, I put him probably in the 15 to 20 range, and I think he's good enough if he wins the job to make Pittsburgh pretty damn competitive. And Justin Fields, being a Detroit Lions fan, I watched Justin Fields and he was developing. Like, I'm actually surprised they moved on from the way they did, but I understand why they did after the comments that came out. He can't see the damn field. So I think it is a good place for Roman Wilson. I think in the type of player Roman Wilson is, like, he's a dog, man. He's like an Amon-Ra type. Like, he will block on every play. He will shove his guy into the ground. He doesn't take any plays off. And I really think he could excel in Pittsburgh, but we'll see. We'll see with the quarterback situation, how it goes.
No, yeah, last year Russell Wilson does not fit in Sean Payton's offense. It's all about anticipation, throwing on time, and Russell Wilson's honestly never been that. So that's the issue there. I don't know if Pittsburgh is going to be willing to let him do basically, his type of offense, which is scramble back there, find someone open. We'll see if that happens. If they're willing to do that, I could see it being a good situation, but I don't know if they're willing to do that. It's going to be interesting. I still think they have. No, they don't have Matt Canada there anymore. I forget who the offense coordinator is, but don't even get me started on that. I don't know how that guy keeps getting a job, but he's terrible.
Now they got Atlanta's offensive coordinator.
Is that who they got? Arthur Smith.
Yeah, they got Arthur Smith now as their offensive coordinator. I'm pretty sure. I'll double check.
Yeah, I think it is. He did
a terrible job in Atlanta.
Yeah, he's a big play action guy. If people remember, he was the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans when they were basically run it 35 times a game. And then anytime they threw was play action with Ryan Tannehill. That's basically what he does. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, they have an okay offensive line. Their issue, I don't know if it's Najee Harris doesn't have breakaway speed, but their yards per carry. Their yards per carry the last 2 years have not been good. Overall, I think the numbers end up well, but yards per carry is not good.
Yeah, I agree.
But let's see here. So who do you think on your team got drafted higher than you expected?
Honestly, I'll be honest, man. Not really anybody. I thought more people got drafted a little lower than I expected. Like, I thought JJ would go first round. I thought he had the chance to go number 6. Sanders still second round, Chris Jenkins second round. Higher than expected.
If you want to go lower, you can do that too. That works.
Yeah, Trevor Keegan going 5th round was a little, but I understand because it was such a deep offensive line class. Like, this was one of the best offensive line classes in a long time. I would go Trevor Keegan 5th round because I actually think Trevor Keegan's going to be a starting caliber offensive guard. I actually wish the Lions would have got him. I think he's legit. But other than that, man, I for our class, I think people went as they should have. I guess the only surprise I had, I thought Josh Wallace would get drafted and he didn't get drafted. So that was kind of like really the only thing that kind of caught me off. Not really caught me off. I knew he'd be a later round guy, but I thought he would be drafted.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I actually have 2 guys, Savondre Sweat, and it's not because of the talent. The talent's there. It's the DUI, a week and a half before the draft. Obviously not good. He's
his weight issues.
Yeah, weight issues. But the talent's definitely there. That was always his issue the year before, actually, when he was getting mocked in like the 4th, 5th round, even 6th round. Consistency. He became consistent on the field. Now he needs to become consistent off the field because he seems like a really good guy. Like, everything that I've read, just happy-go-lucky type of guy. But yeah, you can't be doing the DWI thing. But then we also had a player. You can make it worse. And we had a player get kicked off the team because during that incident, we had a guy with Savondre Sweat who wrecked his car also and drove off. So he's no longer on the team and he's going to face charges. So he didn't at least do that because he probably would have found the drop. But I was shocked he went in the 2nd round at pick 38. I thought he was going to go in the 3rd round because of that.
Yeah, so you guys are the Georgia of the Southwest.
That's only two guys. Two guys during Sark's tenure. I can take that. Georgia has like someone every damn week
I
racing.
know, I know. It's nuts. Yeah.
Um,
No, I like Tavondre Sweat. I kind of wanted him again. I'm a Lions fan, I'm sure you know, but
yeah.
uh yeah, man, I think he's a damn good player. I think he's a first round talent. He just unfortunately has a mentality issue and a weight issue. So hopefully he can get it figured out. But I mean, apparently from what I like my research from him, because I was doing some draft prep, he just isn't motivated, which is nuts. Like, I mean, I can't even fathom not being motivated when you're that caliber of an athlete, you know?
Yeah, you win the Outland Trophy and you just don't give a shit.
Yeah, like what? Like, dude, you're like life's on like that's nuts. You have millions of dollars on the line, bro. Grind it out, dude. Like, I don't know. But
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is weird. Whereas I think it's the total opposite with Byron Murphy. I think Byron Murphy is going to be. I think he's the closest thing I know. I keep saying this. I'm going to keep getting shit for it. I think he's the closest thing to Aaron Donald since Aaron Donald, personally.
Chill.
But
Yeah, I'm gonna give you shit. Chill out, dude. I mean, he's nice, but I wouldn't.
It's
You think he's the closest thing to Aaron Donald since Aaron Donald?
Body type wise and leverage, the way he plays with leverage is insane. Yes, I've never seen anyone play with leverage. Like the thing that Bo Davis taught him this year, I'm sure all defensive line coach teaches it, but basically whenever you're double teamed, you drop the one knee. I saw the guy versus Alabama drop the one knee and hold their offensive lineman up like this and not move. I'm like, that's not normal for someone that size. He's only like 6 foot, 290 pounds. He's just insanely strong. But
he weighs more than Aaron Donald, but
yeah, but like height wise, I think they're similar.
They are.
I'm trying to think. Keelan Robinson shocked me. 6th round. He only had 12 carries last year. He has under 400 snaps for his career. I know the NFL loves special teams, and that's probably what he's going to be because he's one of the best gunners in college I've ever seen. He blocked, I think, 5 punts in his 2 years at Texas. He could have blocked 7 or 8 if other players weren't called for holding or offsides because he has a insane first step for that. He also is pretty good out of the backfield catching, but his issue is balance. He's terrible with that. Every time he made a cut out of the backfield running wise, he would slip. But he is also very fast. So I think that's why he ended up getting drafted in the 6th round. That just surprised me that he went that high, especially ahead of someone like Jordan Whittington and Ryan Watts. I think Jordan Whittington, by the way, getting drafted by the Rams is going to have a really good career there. He's the total opposite of what the concerns were with A.D. Mitchell. That guy will give you his life on the football field. He does not give a crap. He was definitely our hardest working player on offense. And I mean, just for anyone that didn't see it, I'm sure you did if you're a diehard college football fan, go to the TCU game. Quinn Ewers throws an interception and Jordan Whittington gets up and runs, hustles down. This guy's going to get scored a pick six, tackles him, causes a fumble. And Xavier Worthy, who actually was the intended target, got up too and ran back and recovered the fumble. So that's like the difference that I've seen in Texas. And Jordan Whittington is like the perfect example for that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't personally know much about Jordan Whittingham, but like, I think you're right with Robinson being a special teams guy. There seems to be a special teams emphasis in the NFL right now. A lot of teams seem to be drafted like in the later rounds. They're kind of getting these like special teams specialists because especially with the new kickoff rules going on. So and I noticed like this is 2 years in a row. You guys have back-to-back running backs taken. You know, last year was Roshan Johnson and Bijan. And then this year you got Robinson. Brooks and Robinson. So pretty interesting, pretty unique.
It is.
At the end of the show, I wanted to ask you, we'll move forward with the show, but before we end the show, I wanted to talk to you about what you think about week 2 and maybe get your thoughts on it. Because I was kind of looking at your roster and I was curious.
So it's so hard to tell because if you would have asked me this question last year, the up the middle was a question for us because you had Tavondre Sweat, who was inconsistent. Byron Murphy, we all knew had the talent. We just didn't know if he'd play up to it or if he was fully developed yet or near his development. And then they both hit and they both had Pro Football Focus grades of 90.5 or better. So I'm like, okay, we're probably not going to do that again. We're not. I think Alfred Collins has the talent to be just as good as both those guys. I mean, Chris Ash, who I respect, I think he's a good defensive coordinator, came in and he was asked, like, one of the first practices at Texas, is there anyone with special talent here reminds you of anyone you've coached? He said, yeah, Alfred Collins. He reminds me of the Bosa brothers and Chase Young. And I'm like, okay, where the hell did this come from? I know he's a high 5-star recruit, but he's really never had any production. So if he can finally live up to those standards, that changes this whole dynamic on defense for me. The secondary is going to be better. We have the safety room has gotten a lot better just because you had Derek Williams as a freshman last year, who was he probably was our best safety overall. He's only going to get better. Malik Muhammad at cornerback freshman is only going to get better. And then you have Andrew Makuba, who I'm really excited about coming in from Clemson, who everyone that I saw had him as like a top 4-round pick in the NFL draft if he decided to come out instead of transfer. So I was surprised he even decided to transfer, honestly. He must think he can get a 1st or 2nd round grade going into next year. And then the offense. I think the offense is going to be special. It's hard for me not to believe Steve Sarkisian, who I think is a top 5 offensive mind in college football, with the offensive line, which you guys had a great offensive line last year. I think our offensive line can be just as good this year. We have 4 out of 5 of our starters on the offensive line that I think are going to be drafted in next year's NFL draft. If DJ Campbell wants to come out, he probably wouldn't be a 1st-round pick, but he'd probably be a 2nd or 3rd-round pick. The only guy I don't believe in, and his spot's up for grab at the left guard position, is Hayden Connor. So we'll see if he stays there that long. But the 4 out of the 5 of them I believe in wholeheartedly. And then I think it's one of the best running back rooms again in college football. You have Jaden Blue, who he probably would have been the 2nd fastest guy on the team last year behind Xavier Worthy and he plays running back. And then you have CJ Baxter, you have Christian Clark and Jarek Gibson, 2 really good running backs as your 3rd and 4th string. Also, people don't realize Trey Wisner, I think if he gets carries this year, he's going to show his talent and transfer somewhere else because he's so good I don't know how he's a walk-on. He's very good. So I think the game's going to be close. I actually think we matched up better versus you last year because of our defensive line. This year, they do worry me, but I think it's going to be a really good game. I will say this, because I got heat from Moose. I still have his comment up there. I said if anyone was going to blow anyone out in this game, I said Texas would because why did I say? I said Texas would because if Michigan's going to beat us, they're going to run the ball, and it's really hard to blow a team out when I think they're equal talent-wise when they're just running the ball and pounding it at you. Like, I just don't see a grind. I see more of a grind-out win for you guys, whereas if we're hitting through the air, which I don't think we will because I think your defense is going to be a top 10 defense again in college football, then we could blow you out. But I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to come down to probably the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game too. But I'll say this, like, we've blown a lot of teams out by not being a pass happy offense because our defense shuts offenses down, and we do have the ability to break it open. Like, we still scored 35 points a game last season, and with Orji, potentially Alex Orji is going to be our starting quarterback. There's going to be a whole new dynamic to the team. So I'm not going to say I'm not projecting a blowout, especially I got to see fall camp and some what's going on with the quarterback battle for us, but. I think it being home for us, I think we actually have the advantage. And you guys have almost as many new starters overall on your team as we do. Almost, especially your positions on offense. So I think, week 2, I think it will be a close game. I'm probably within 10 points. But I think, I don't know. I mean, it really depends on the quarterback scenario for us because that's going to matter. But I like our chances in that game. I think I'm gonna give us the edge right now, but we'll see how the camp goes in the fall.
No, I mean that's totally fair. I think it's gonna be a good game either way. But I think it kind of reminds me of Alabama last year. We go on the road versus a big opponent, and the guy's making his 2nd start, and that's what Alec Orji is going to be. And that's the difference to me is you saw it in that game versus Alabama. Quinn Ewers was ready to play. Jalen Milroe was not, and we win the game. And that's people do not realize. Like, I've tried to dive deep into this team, like overall the world of college football, to see if Texas could actually win a national championship. And defensively, I don't know if we're there yet. Offensively, though, if Quinn Ewers, I've seen it throughout the history. LSU 2019 had a good defense. They didn't have a great defense, but guess what they had? They had Joe Burrow. 2020, Mac Jones, phenomenal season, great season, one of the best in college football history. They didn't have a great defense either, if you look at it, but they had Mac Jones. 2005 Texas, I don't think we had that good of a defense. It was good. It wasn't great. But guess who you had? You had Vince Young. So if Texas is going to win a national championship, it's going to be because of Quinn Ewers is just better than every quarterback he faces, which he has the talent. There's no doubt about that. He just hasn't put it together. Like, he's going to have to repeat what he did in the Alabama game. Probably you have 12 games. He's going to have to do it 11 plus times in the year for us to be able to win it out. And then with the college football playoff, so he's going to have to do it like 13 times to win a national championship, basically.
Yeah.
I think we can get away with it versus worse opponents, but I'm thinking like 12 to 13 games he needs.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, so we'll see, man. I mean, the thing about like the LSU, you know, Burrows, I mean, that was one of the most elite offenses that ever played the game. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think you guys are gonna be a playoff team. I wouldn't, you know, and we'll see what the hell that means, because now we got the 12-team playoff, and no one really even knows the dynamics of that, or how important home field's going to be during the playoffs. So I mean, anything can maybe happen. I don't know. We might get some March Madness type of upsets. You know, we'll see. But yeah, I think you guys are a good team. I mean, how do you feel about your wide receiver position?
So I don't think we're not going to replace two quality like top end wide receivers. Like if AD Mitchell blocked, he would have been a first round pick. I think he was the fourth. Like if you're just going based on pure talent, I think he was the fourth best wide receiver coming out pure talent wise last year's draft. But I don't like high end the high end comparison, but I think we're deeper. Like I think our sixth wide receiver this year is going to get playing time, whoever that may be. I mean, we have Isaiah Bond. I think Ryan Wingo, the 5-star from Missouri coming in, he's already being talked about like the next Xavier Worthy type. He's not obviously the speedster like Xavier Worthy is. He's actually be more comparable to AD Mitchell. He's going to ball out this year. I'm pretty confident in that. I think Matthew Golden from Houston is a guy that I'm super high on. I actually think he's better than Isaiah Bond. Especially returning game wise. He had 2 touchdowns in the kickoff returns last year in 7 opportunities. I'd say that's a pretty good percentage. And then with Jeff Banks being our special teams coach, I think he's one of the best in the country. So I like our group overall, but we're not going to have like, if you put Xavier Worthy and AD Mitchell in this group, they're still the number 1 and number 2. But I think 3 through 7 is better than what we had last year.
Okay. Yeah. I think if we can take advantage of you guys, so that's the thing too. It's so early in the season, but you do have experience with the Alabama game. You know, that's a good point. But I think with your new offense, you know, your new skill position against our defense, which is complex as hell. You can ask Ohio State. This is why they have trouble all the time. They literally cannot figure out our coverages because it's just so complex. But you know, and as you saw Washington, right? I mean, Washington was unable to really get that offense going. Well, we still that defense is, even though we lost our defensive coordinator, that defense is going to transfer to under Wink Martindale. So I feel pretty good about it. But I'd be a lot more confident if our QB situation was settled.
Yeah. If you had JJ McCarthy, I think you'd win by like 10 points.
Oh shit, dude. Yeah, I'd be like back-to-back champ type thing right now. But we'll see. I mean, I just got to see how fall camp goes before I get a little too confident on it. So I'll stay reserved and humble.
Well, and the thing is, too, people, it's kind of like the Alabama thing. Texas was worried after week 1, then you go play Alabama because we didn't play that well in week 1. But it was pretty clear Steve Sarkisian used the whole offseason to plan for Alabama and said, yeah, we don't care about Rice. Just go out there and have fun. I think he's going to do the same thing for Michigan. I think we're not going to look that good versus Colorado State. We'll still win by 3 touchdowns, and then you're going to see all this stuff come out. And I was like, wow, why didn't we see this versus Colorado State? Well, because you don't need to see it versus Colorado State. And that's the thing. You're giving, in my opinion, like if I actually had to rank it, I think he's the second best offensive mind in college football behind. I think Lincoln Riley's still the best.
Yeah, I was going to say, what about Ryan Day, man? Even though I don't like the guy. I mean, he's pretty damn good. Kalen DeBoer is pretty good.
I got to see a little bit more for him. More.
You want to see him do it at Alabama? Okay.
Yes. If he does it at Alabama, yes, I'll put him over Steve Sarkisian. But Steve Sarkisian, I mean, going back to USC, the quarterbacks he's coaching, he put Matt Castle in the NFL when Matt Castle never played or started a game for USC. That's how crazy that is. But I do think with 6 months to prepare, whatever it is, 5-6 months, I think you'll have a pretty good game plan. I'm not concerned about that.
All right, let me ask you this: if Sarkisian's, and I listen, you know what he's done at Texas is good. Like I'm not, you know, he's fucking actually made Texas relevant again. But why if he's on this elite caliber, right? Why did he adjust his game plan against Washington?
So, yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. What I hope he did learn, because what I do like about him, Oklahoma State game, for example, we didn't kick a field goal. I forget the exact situation. We didn't call a timeout to run an extra play to get more yardage, and he let it go down, and then we kicked a field goal. And he literally, first thing he said, before you ask me a question, that's my fault. That is on me. And I was like, okay, that's nice to see, because the last couple of coaches I've seen have not taken accountability when they get shit wrong. And he says that I learn every day. But basically, this is his first job. People don't remember, he was a raging alcoholic. The dude got fired because he was blacked out at USC giving speeches. Yeah, he probably wasn't a good coach that when you're doing that. So I'm not that hard on him with this. But I want to see what did worry me in the Washington game. He said they have the first 40 plays scripted. I hate that. Throw that shit out the window, because to me, you fall in love with the script too much and then you want to stick to it. And it clearly was not working that game. And then also when stuff did start to click, when I did see adjustments, the players didn't execute. We had 2 fumbles where we were moving the ball. Jaden Blue fumbled one, and I believe CJ Baxter fumbled one when we had just crossed Washington, gotten to Washington's territory. And the game was over when those 2 things happened.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. You have to be able to adapt and evolve, which is what Sharon Moore did against Penn State. Yeah, I'm still, I don't know if I would put Sarkisian in the elite tier yet, but what he's doing at Texas is definitely respectable. I'll say that, but we'll find out week 2 how that goes.
No, I don't think he's an elite coach yet, but I think he's an elite offensive mind. I think that's
I'm talking about even elite offensive mind. Like
okay.
I wouldn't. I mean, when I think of elite, I think of like top 3, top 5. I mean, I just think I can name 3 off the top of my mind now without even who I'd put ahead of him. But we'll see week 2. We'll see what he's about.
No, that's fair. So let's hit on this at least. Why do you think Michigan won the draft compared to Texas?
Yeah. All right. So the reason I think Michigan won the draft compared to Texas, one, we had 13 players drafted to 11. We had the 4th best draft class of all time in college football history. We had the highest player drafted, 10th overall, top 10. Texas does not have a top 10 or even a top 15 player. We have the most players drafted in the first 3 rounds, which 7-5. We have the most players drafted in the top 100 players drafted 7-5. Top 150 players drafted were 8-6. And then overall, and then if we want to look at, we're looking at the top half of the draft. If we look at day 3, both teams had 6 players drafted. So I do not see the advantage that Texas has. And look, Texas had the 2nd best draft this year. So obviously they had a good draft, but I do not see the advantage in comparison to Michigan, where one could argue it's better than Michigan's draft.
No, I guess my only argument for that would be top 52 picks were 5-3. And then after that, like if you look at the hit percentage, especially, it falls off quite a bit after the 2nd round. But I do think overall, I'm not going to debate. I do think you slightly won, but it's going to be interesting especially next year combined, because I think we're going to have 2 to 3 guys drafted in the first round. I think you guys will have 2 to 3 guys drafted in the first round. With Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. Yeah,
we're going to be a top-heavy team next year in terms of draft. We're definitely not going to – I don't think we're going to touch 13. We might maybe – I don't know if we get to 10. I don't know. But we're definitely going to have Will Johnson's going to be a top 10 pick, highly likely. Freaking Mason Graham's – they're saying top 10 pick. We'll see. Kenneth Grant's looking like a first-round pick, and then we have the best tight end in the nation, Colson Loveland. So – tight ends are starting to get a little bit more valued, but still getting drafted in the first round is difficult for a tight end. I mean, look at what just happened with Bowers. So, we're definitely a top heavy team this year. So, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting next year. I don't know how many will get drafted, but we've been like, since 2000, I think we're 3rd in all of college football behind Alabama, Georgia, and that might be it. In terms of most players drafted in the last 3 years.
No, that sounds about right. I know Georgia's got to be number 1 with that. Georgia's killing it with the draft every year. But it's going to be interesting, because I think there's a realistic possibility we could have the number 1 draft pick. I think Kelvin Banks, people talk about Quinn Ewers. I think Kelvin Banks could be the number 1 overall pick next year at left tackle. But it's going to be interesting. What?
That's interesting. That's the first time I've heard that. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, it was funny. Like the first 4 games with him as a freshman at left tackle, I was like, okay, cool. He's a top 10 pick whenever he decides to come out. And he's never had me doubt. The only time he had me doubt is when he got hurt in the Washington game. And if people go back and watch that, that's when our run game started to get worse. He took like a hit to the knee, was limping around, still played, but he wasn't himself. He was still really good, but he wasn't himself. But yeah, he's He's the real deal. I think it's going to be either him or Will Campbell as the best offensive lineman taken next year.
These days with the way the NFL draft is, it just seems like quarterbacks. I mean, look at this year, right? And then J.C. Latham went 5th. Probably, could have been the top 3 pick in any other draft, but in the NFL, the quarterback is so overvalued. I mean, the amount of quarterbacks who went first round this year is just nuts. I mean, Michael Penix going. When did Atlanta take him? Was that like 8 or some shit? Yeah, dude. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy to me. It's nuts.
Well, yeah, I'm a Broncos fan. We picked Bo Nix, so I hated that pick. But at 12, that was a god awful pick. I hate Sean Payton, so I fully expect.
Really, I like Sean Payton, but you guys do have a quarterback. I mean, Broncos have a quarterback problem for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it sucks because Denver is. I don't know. Have you ever been to Denver?
No, I haven't.
Well, dude, they live and breathe football, man. It's like,
oh, I know they're big fans. I tried to go out to a game a couple of times, and the tickets are freaking $900 for average. So I'm like, I'm good. I'm not spending that much money. But yeah, I mean, they're really good fans. It's definitely a football city. I just don't. I think Sean Payton rubs me the wrong way. I think he's way too arrogant for what he's done in his career. He has Drew Brees.
What do you mean? What he's done in his career? He won
one Super Bowl with Drew Brees, and missed the playoff 4 times.
Yeah,
missed the playoff 4 times.
What happened to Drew Brees before New Orleans?
He wasn't.
San Diego rejected him. They rejected him, man. And then he went to New Orleans and built a legacy. I mean, I think Sean Payton's. Also, like, understand this. Like, so I'm a Lions fan, and Dan Campbell's a disciple of Sean Payton, right? But I've also always appreciated Sean Payton because, speaking of elite offensive minds, Sean Payton's one of the best offensive minds in football, man. But I think Denver has. It's so funny because you're a Denver fan, so I'm trying to convince you. But Denver has, in my opinion, a great coach, but you do have a quarterback problem.
But that's the thing too. I think it was also an arrogant pick because I don't think Bo Nix is anywhere near a first-round pick. From what I've seen, first off, I think over half of his
check down, dude. Like, you can't even.
Half of his pass attempts are within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. That
right.
does not.
He's not even accurate all the freaking time. He'll throw it at people's feet when he's on the run. Like, I agree. I don't understand the Bo Nix pick. I like the Troy Franklin pick though. That's a freaking steal.
Yeah, 4th round.
Troy Franklin. I'm telling you right now, if you're a fantasy football fan, look into Troy Franklin. Get him in the late rounds.
No, that was a good pick. Yeah, I just don't. I agree with you. Drew Brees did get better. Obviously, I'm not saying he's a bad offensive mind, but I don't think he is who he thinks he is my point. I think he thinks he's like God's gift to earth. If you listen to his press conferences, he can do no wrong. That's basically what, and I hate that shit.
Well, I'll say this, though. He did get Denver almost on the cusp of a playoff berth this year. I mean, you guys were at least towards the end of the year competing for a playoff spot. When the beginning of you have to say this, though, right? The beginning of the year, it didn't look good. And as the year progressed,
the defense was terrible.
As the year progressed and he adapted and adjusted and figured out what he had, the team was far more competitive towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that honestly that had more to do with Vance Joseph on defense, though, because I mean, we got, I think, 3rd or 4th week of the season, Miami dropped 70, which is insane to say, 70 points on us. And then from there on out, he totally changed the scheme. He was basically running man the whole time. And no offense, our second corner, besides, in my opinion, I think Pat Surtain is the best cornerback in the NFL, definitely top 3.
He's up there.
I forget who we had as our starting quarterback on the other side, but he was rated by Pro Football Focus out of like 500 quarterbacks who just played. He was the worst one. So you have one of the best ones with the absolute worst one, and you're running man, which made no sense. But we benched him. We started running more zone, and we played very well from then on out. But then obviously a little crumbled at the end. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't expect us to be very good. We're in a decently hard division. I think the Chargers are going to do really well with Harbaugh because I think Harbaugh's a fantastic coach. That's who I wanted the year before Denver to hire, but I don't think he was going to take the job. And then Kansas City, obviously. So
yeah, it's a tough division. I think Harbaugh's going to have a tough first year. I think for him to instill the culture he wants to instill, I think Harbaugh's going to. I don't expect. I think they might be picking top 10 again next year, but I think the foundation is going to be laid. Especially because, again, as you said, that is a tough ass division. Kansas City runs that division. Oakland's a bit of a mess, though.
They're weird, yeah.
Yeah, they're a mess ever since they got rid of John Gruden. But yeah. So God, I think Denver's better than the Chargers right now. I'd say that, but you have a quarterback problem, dude, and like. that in the NFL,
And
if you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah,
You
they don't have a quarterback problem.
Right.
So, yeah, I think they'll be better than us. But yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. But overall, I'm just excited for college football, honestly, more than anything. It used to be the NFL used to be number one for me, but the last even when Texas sucked, like when Sark got hired, even the last couple of years of Tom Herman, it took over from me because I think the NFL honestly has just gotten soft in my opinion. So it's going to be fun this year, and it's going to be an awesome schedule for us. I don't know what your schedule looks like, but playing Michigan, playing Georgia, playing Texas A&M again is going to be awesome.
Yeah, our schedule is nuts, man. We got Oregon, USC, Ohio State, Washington, freaking.
So you
Texas.
Play almost all the new guys then.
Texas. Yeah, we got everybody, man. It's about to be a gauntlet, But I think we'll do all right. The good news is like tough games except Ohio State's at home, so that's a big advantage for us. And I mean, if we can just get to 10 wins, get to the Big Ten championship again, or honestly, my goal is 10 wins and get it back in the playoffs. We'll see what that means for the Big Ten championship because there's 18 teams now. I have no idea what it's going to take to be the Big Ten championship next season. Some teams have extremely easy schedules. I don't know if someone's going to be able to take advantage of that or not. So we'll just have to see how that goes.
Yeah, I still think there's only 4 teams really competing for the Big Ten championship, though. It's going to be you, Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon. I mean, I think Oregon, the way they're recruiting and the way they're spending on NIL, Phil Knight really wants a championship before he kicks the bucket.
Yeah, I think Oregon's going to have a tough adjustment their first year in the Big Ten. I don't think they, playing in the Pac-12, it's not the same. Washington learned that.
Yeah.
There is a bit of a power game in the Big Ten that I don't think they're quite built for yet. I mean, obviously they have all offseason to fix it, but when your defensive linemen are a certain size or your offensive linemen are a certain size, I just think you're going to find. I think you're going to see Oregon slip up somewhere. I don't know who it'll be against, but that's how the Big Ten goes. There's going to be a team that just catches them on the right day. But I think USC is a little dangerous because they have talent. It's just can USC play defense? We'll find out. So far they cannot.
It'll be interesting. And also, I don't think Miller Moss replicates anywhere near what he did in the bowl game because if people go back and watch that, it's a lot of jump balls. And you can't replicate that. You really can't. So it's going to be interesting there with the quarterback too. But yeah, I do agree. Just because of the scheme they run, if their defense can just be average, they could probably win 8 or 9 games. It's going to be interesting because, I mean, I don't know where the line is. It's going to be very interesting to see how many games you actually have to win to get into a 12-team playoff. I think right now it's you could probably get away with 9 if you play like an insanely hard schedule and are close in your losses, but I think that's probably the least amount.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be 10. I don't know if 9's going to get it. Because one group of 5 teams going to get it. Then you have your conference champions, right? So that's 6. That's 6 spots, or would it be 5 spots? Because it's really a power 4 now. So I guess it'd be 5 spots. That's 5 spots. Then you have 7 spots up for grabs. I mean, I don't know.
And it's not even that because you're going to have Notre Dame take a spot too because they're getting in. So really, only
those losers. Yeah, Notre Dame. Yeah, you're right. Probably, maybe. I don't know because they always got a stupid schedule, so they'll probably get in because they only schedule like 3 tough teams every year.
Yeah, their schedule's basically like the same every year, minus like 2 or 3 changes in the out of conference. Well, they're all out of conference games for them, but like, you know what I mean? Like the easy out of conference games, basically. But you're always going to play USC. Always going to play Florida State. So we'll see. But it's going to be fun. And I enjoyed the conversation with you, TJ. Guys, please hit that like button and subscribe to both the Texas and Michigan channel. This was Draft Wars live here, Texas versus Michigan. Again, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Go over to the Mark Rogers TV channel if you haven't done that. Subscribe over there as well. Thank you guys for being here.